"Mom, your face is becoming an embarrassment to the family," my daughter-in-law, Brittany, said, her words slicing through the cheerful hum of our Christmas dinner. My son, Michael, nodded in agreement. In that instant, sitting there with all the decorations, the twinkling lights reflecting off the china I'd set so carefully, I felt something inside me snap. I was Helen Harper, 66 years old, a widow of 3 years, a retired elementary school teacher, and in that moment I realized I couldn't take it anymore. Christmas had always been my sanctuary, the one time of year I poured every ounce of love and care into our home. Even after losing David's father, I continued the traditions we'd cherished for over 4 decades. I spent hours baking my famous sugar cookies, the secret ingredient tucked away like a little treasure, and roasting the perfect prime rib, just as Harold always said, better than any restaurant in town. I made homemade cranberry sauce, taking 2 days to get it just right. Every napkin folded perfectly, every dish plated with care, every candle lit. I wanted warmth, laughter, and family connection, yet here I was being told that my very presence was shameful. Brittany wandered through the living room, her eyes sweeping over the furniture and decor, sneering at what she called dated and Instagram unfriendly. She scrutinized my gray hair, my laugh lines, and my simple dress as though I were some outdated museum piece. I felt a mix of hurt disbelief and a quiet, simmering anger. All those years of devotion, of teaching my son, of keeping our home and traditions alive, it was dismissed in a single sentence. I folded my napkins, slowly stood up with every ounce of dignity I had left, and announced, "Then I'm leaving." My voice was calm, steady, but inside it roared. I felt the weight of every lonely evening since Harold passed, the quiet ache of raising my son as a single mother while working 2 jobs, and the sting of being undervalued by the very people I had loved most. And then in the silence that followed, Michael's phone rang. His eyes widened, his color draining as he listened. I glimpsed the words "Forbes" and "viral video" before he dropped the phone into his pocket. My heart skipped a beat. Somehow, in the midst of this humiliation, a spark of possibility flickered. That secret cookie recipe, something I had shared with a neighbor's granddaughter on a whim, was about to change everything. The idea I'd tucked away for decades, the dream of starting something of my own, something meaningful, was no longer just a dream. I walked toward the door, taking a deep breath, feeling a mix of sorrow, relief, and anticipation. In that moment, I wasn't just leaving a dinner table, I was stepping into the first chapter of a new life. And little did my family know the embarrassing old woman they thought they knew was about to become unstoppable. Just days after that Christmas dinner, something unexpected happened that would completely turn my life upside down. My neighbor's granddaughter, Emma, an energetic 8-year-old with a love for baking, had been visiting me when I was teaching her my secret cookie recipe. She insisted on recording the session on her phone, capturing every little detail: the pinch of lavender from my garden, the drop of homemade vanilla extract, and the way I showed her to knead the dough just so. "Grandma Helen makes the best cookies ever," she exclaimed into the camera, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I laughed it off, thinking it was just a cute memory for her family, not realizing that 3 weeks later, it would explode across the internet. By the end of that month, the video had gone viral on TikTok, reaching 2 million views. I couldn't believe it. 2 million people had watched me, a 66-year-old widow from a small town, making cookies in my kitchen. My phone rang, constantly numbers I didn't recognize, email notifications, flooding my inbox and messages from people across the country. Food Network wanted to discuss a potential show. A publisher called about a cookbook deal. And then there was Forbes asking for an exclusive interview for a feature on senior entrepreneurs disrupting traditional industries. I sat at my kitchen table, still wearing my Christmas dress, staring at a pile of business cards and contact information I had hastily scribbled on napkins. The reality hit me like a wave. My lifelong dream of starting something meaningful, something of my own, was finally within reach. The sense of disbelief soon turned into excitement and, honestly, a little thrill. After decades of feeling overlooked by family, by society, I realized I still had value, and not just in a quiet domestic way, but in a way the world was noticing. Each call brought a new layer of possibility and urgency. One moment, I was speaking with a producer who wanted to discuss filming the next, an editor eager to plan a cookbook. Every message seemed to carry a different opportunity, and every opportunity made my heart race. I'd spent years thinking my age or my widowhood would hold me back, but now the opposite felt true. My experience, my knowledge, and even the simple act of sharing a family recipe had created a ripple far bigger than I could have imagined. For women like me, over 45, watching life pass by can sometimes feel like an endless waiting room full of missed chances and unspoken dreams. But I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. Each phone call, each email, each new possibility reminded me that I wasn't finished, that there was still room to grow, to create, and to make a difference. I realized then that life doesn't stop at 60 or 65. It can be a beginning just as much as a continuation. And sometimes, the most unexpected moments open the doors to the brightest possibilities. By the time the week ended, I knew one thing: I couldn't let this chance slip away. This accidental TikTok video was more than a viral hit. It was my invitation to step into the next chapter of my life, to prove to myself and the world that I still had something incredible to offer. The moment I realized the TikTok video had opened a door, I knew I had to step through it. I had a vision I'd kept tucked away for decades, an idea of a platform where seniors like me could share the wisdom we had accumulated over a lifetime. I decided to create Grandma's Kitchen, a place where older adults could teach traditional skills, cooking, sewing, woodworking, gardening skills that young people were desperate to learn but often had nowhere to turn. I reached out to friends and neighbors who shared the same spark of enthusiasm. Mrs. Patterson, a retired seamstress with hands that had crafted quilts for generations, eagerly agreed to teach sewing workshops. Mr. Anderson, a quiet man known for his intricate woodworking, nodded with a grin when I suggested he could show young people how to build their first bookshelf. Elena Vasquez, whose traditional Mexican recipes had brought joy to everyone in the neighborhood, was thrilled to bring her culinary expertise to a wider audience. Together, we formed a small but mighty team of instructors, each carrying decades of knowledge and experience. Our goal was simple yet ambitious: connect generations, preserve disappearing skills, and create meaningful relationships across age gaps. We weren't just offering classes. We were building community, fostering mentorship, and giving purpose to seniors who often felt overlooked. But turning this dream into reality was far from easy. The first challenge was technical. None of us were experts at creating a website or marketing a business. I spent hours on calls with my friend Sarah, who had transitioned from teaching to tech learning, how to set up profiles, manage bookings, and present our workshops professionally online. Convincing our instructors to trust this new model was another hurdle. Many were hesitant, unsure whether young people would truly value their decades of experience. Some worried about technology, others about time commitments. Each small victory, getting someone to record a practice video or complete a profile, felt like a triumph. I also had to learn the hard lessons of entrepreneurship along the way. Time management, pricing classes, understanding the logistics of scheduling, and learning to market without losing the authenticity that made our offerings unique. Every email from a student asking how to make a quilt block or properly brown a roast sent a thrill through me. Each positive comment reminded me that our work mattered, that our knowledge could actually change someone's life. The first weeks were a whirlwind of excitement and anxiety. I stayed up late testing video setups, taking feedback from students, and refining class descriptions. There were moments I questioned myself. Was I too old to start this? Would anyone truly care about what we had to teach? Then I would read messages from students, some desperate to learn skills their grandparents had never passed down, others thrilled to reconnect with forgotten family traditions, and I knew the answer. We were creating something that mattered, something bigger than any one of us. The feeling of seeing my vision come to life, witnessing young people engaging with seniors, learning skills that carried stories and meaning, was unlike anything I had experienced in my teaching career. Excitement mingled with pride, and even the occasional anxiety became part of the thrill. Grandma's Kitchen wasn't just a platform, it was a bridge between generations, a way to preserve the past while empowering the future. Just as Grandma's Kitchen began to flourish, the unexpected happened. Peterson Industries, a corporate giant with endless resources, had copied our idea almost identically. They poached some of our instructors, offered higher pay, and launched a platform that looked like a mirror image of ours. Within days, our user numbers started to drop, and I could feel a familiar tension tightening in my chest, the same way it had when I felt dismissed at Christmas. But this time, it wasn't about hurt feelings. This was a threat to something I had built with love, sweat, and decades of experience. And then came the shock I hadn't anticipated. My own son, David, appeared to be working with them. At first, he framed it as helping, claiming he wanted to offer advice on negotiating and partnerships. But the betrayal cut deep. The person I had raised, the one I had guided and protected, was now temporarily aligned with the very company threatening everything I had created. My stomach turned with anger and disbelief, but I refused to panic. I had spent years teaching children to solve problems and think critically. Now those same lessons would guide me. I realized quickly that our advantage wasn't technology, nor was it a flashy website. It was the wisdom, stories, and lived experience of our instructors. Peterson could copy a recipe, replicate a woodworking technique, or film a sewing tutorial. But they couldn't replicate the decades of adjustments, the little secrets passed down through generations, or the personal mentorship that made each class meaningful. With a plan in mind, I reached out to the instructors who had been lured away. I didn't ask them to break contracts. I simply reminded them of the unique power they held, their authenticity, the connections they built with students, and the joy of teaching from the heart. Slowly, our community began to regroup. Mrs. Patterson organized intimate quilting circles in her living room. Elena hosted small cooking workshops in her kitchen, and Mr. Anderson offered hands-on woodworking sessions in his garage. These in-person experiences couldn't be copied or commoditized, and soon students started returning. Meanwhile, Peterson's platform, though technically perfect, began to falter. Students complained that the classes felt mechanical, lacking heart, and the nuanced guidance only experience can provide. Their polished content could not recreate the warmth, humor, and stories that made Grandma's Kitchen unique. I watched as our student registrations climbed again, and a deep sense of satisfaction settled in my chest. Justice didn't require lawsuits or confrontations. It simply required strategy and understanding the true value of what we offered. By the time Forbes ran their follow-up article highlighting our resilience and the corporate bullying we had endured, the narrative had shifted. Peterson Industries was publicly exposed, and our story inspired readers across the country. I maintained control over Grandma's Kitchen, strengthened our community, and reaffirmed that age is not a limitation. And intellect, creativity, and strategic thinking are powerful tools at any stage of life. The experience was thrilling and exhausting in equal measure. I felt a mix of rage, anticipation, and ultimately triumph as we proved that authenticity and purpose could outlast money and corporate muscle. For every woman watching who's ever felt underestimated because of her age, I want you to know your experience, your wisdom, and your courage are not just valuable, they are unstoppable when applied with clarity and heart. Grandma's Kitchen was no longer just a platform. It was a movement, a testament to the power of perseverance, strategy, and staying true to oneself. Looking back on this journey, I can hardly believe how far Grandma's Kitchen has come. What started as a simple, joyful act of sharing a cookie recipe has grown into a vibrant community that spans the country. We've partnered with senior centers, collaborated with universities to bring our model into continuing education programs, and soon, our story will be shared through a TV show and a cookbook. It's incredible to see seniors teaching, sharing, and inspiring young people, proving that the skills and wisdom we've collected over a lifetime are invaluable and still deeply relevant. Family life has shifted too. My son David expressed genuine remorse for his earlier actions, and Brittany, my daughter-in-law, has moved on. While our family bond has healed in a more honest and balanced way, it's no longer weighed down by old dynamics or expectations. I've learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or going back. It means creating space for growth, honesty, and new beginnings. This journey has given me lessons I hope every woman watching will take to heart. Age is never a barrier. I started a business at 66 and discovered new purpose, creativity, and impact. Your life does not stop at midlife. It can be a fresh, meaningful beginning. Knowledge and life experience are treasures. The wisdom we've accumulated, skills, stories, techniques can be shared, preserved, and even turned into opportunities that connect generations. Courage, patience, and intelligence overcome obstacles and prejudice. Facing challenges, navigating betrayal, and trusting my instincts proved that strategic thinking and resilience never expire with age. To every woman watching, your worth is not defined by age, appearance, or anyone else's opinion. You hold knowledge, skills, and experience that can make a real difference. Stepping into your own power, taking action, and sharing your gifts can inspire others and transform your life in ways you never imagined. Thank you for spending time with my story. If it inspired you, please like, share, and comment below with your own experiences. And don't forget to subscribe to Real Her Stories to hear more emotional, courageous, and inspiring stories from women just like you. Remember, it's never too late to begin, and sometimes the best triumph is simply stepping forward and claiming your own value.